Alright, so guys, in this video that you're watching right now, I'm gonna go over what you can do as Samira when you fall behind. Um, I'm gonna just show a couple of things that happen in the early game. Um, so died here, uh, tried to kill here, died here, and see, let me show another death. And I think we died another time too. Oh, we did. Oh yeah, and then not Ezreal killed us here, and then took the tower as well. So I'm like very far behind here. As you can see, I'm 0-2. Still not too far behind in CS, but the game is still like very bad for me. Very bleak. My team is winning, which is good, but the score is still even because of how hard we lost in bot. Something important to learn is that like just because you fall behind doesn't mean the game is over necessarily. The biggest part of like falling behind but still being relevant is gold. And a lot of times when I fall behind, you'll see me like split push for a certain amount of time, just for a little while in order to like get items and be relevant. So after I fall behind here, um, I catch waves. I just perma playing waves and perma trying to stay relevant in the game and keep levels. Because you see, even though I'm super far behind and I'm down so much gold, I'm still like only 20 CS down and even levels. That's the biggest thing, is trying to stay relevant with XP and getting as much gold as you can when you can. Since I can't do anything by myself, you'll see me do a lot of plays where I'm just following my team. I don't ever go in by myself in this game from this point, just because of how insanely far behind I was, right? So I should never be playing by myself or making plays by myself. The biggest thing I tell Samira players specifically, Samira specific thing, when you fall behind is that you can still out skirmish most ADCs. You'll still be more relevant than most ADCs in a scrap or a skirmish. And you'll see that this game, I'll show the first skirmish I was in the game. So here, I'm just gonna pause it. So here, so there's two things to talk about here. One, the angle I'm coming in at, and two, what your role as Samira is. Samira, sometimes you'll see in my videos like I just go in by myself and I like 1v5. But that's not really how Samira wants to play. Samira is more of a Katarina than like an ADC, than like a Jinx, right? Than like an actual ADC character. So usually what you want to do, if you can, the ideal is that I'm flanking the backline. So here you'll see that I don't come in from the river when I'm trying to go in here. I come in from the side and try to look for picks. And then I end up getting it on him, and I end up getting the Janet as well. We actually clean up all of them here in the end. But that's what Samira wants to do. I don't want to be the first one going in. I want to be one of the last people going in, ideally. And that's just one example of it. So now I've quickly gone from 0-2 to 3-2. And there, even though Ezreal's up in kills, I'm still like more useful in that fight because of how I'm playing it. You just have to play differently when you're not fed. When you're fed, you can kind of just go in and ooga booga, right? And just jump in. But when you're not fed, that's not going to work because you're not going to have enough damage to actually one-shot them from full HP. So after the skirmish, you see how I've managed to catch back up in CS, because the thing about people getting ahead, especially in a game like this where your team is doing well but the other guy is ahead, the other guy needs to be with his team for them to win. And I don't need to be with my team to win. So you'll see for a lot of this game, like my team is doing stuff. Like my Zed is here. They fight topside. I don't just straight up run to that fight. I don't drop the wave. I just play on waves and keep trying to get as much as I can. Because I know that my team doesn't actually need me. In a game where you're all losing, obviously it's a lot harder and it changes the scenario completely. But in a game like this, where I have the luxury of being away from my team, I'm going to play away from my team for two reasons. One, I'm just not that useful in the team fight. And two, if I can draw the Ezreal or someone else to me, since I'm not very fed, that actually gives a lot of value to my team. So yeah. So so again, nothing really happens here. I just am perma playing for items after this point. So this is after the fight. I just play on waves. You'll see I'm not doing much here. Like you can watch for you know, a couple minutes here. What do? I get my wave, I back, go back to mid, grab waves, push up mid, more waves, and then I'm looking with my team. I'm not doing anything. I'm not fighting anything solo because I'm behind, right? That's the main point of this. Is I'm behind, so I'm gonna play off of my teammates, and play with them. And also I'm behind, so I'm not trying to look for as many solo plays as I would normally. The biggest thing about Samira is skirmishing, right? That's all I'm looking for here. Just skirmish, skirmish, skirmish. I'm never taking anything solo, never taking anything by myself, and not going in first. Those are the big parts of this. So I'm gonna speed it up here because nothing really happens here. So now I see a pick on the ASOL, and we have numbers here. We have Yon here, and then me and Zed are here. So this is where we're playing. And then I end up getting chunked, and it looks bad, but we end up having numbers, so it ends up actually being really good, and I get a penta here. Which is crazy. I really thought I was dead here. And then that's that, right? But this doesn't happen. This situation doesn't happen just because, right? The whole setup here is because we had numbers this whole fight. Like, we start here, we're 3v1 on this guy, and then Nautilus comes, and we zone them off. This guy's out the fight, so it ends up being 4v2 here in the fight, and then now I end up cleaning up their backline. Notice how I don't just instantly flash in their backline from the very beginning, right? I waited until they use all their cooldowns, and let my teammates actually bait them out and set me up. So that's the main thing, is just letting your teammates set you up more so than normal. Like, in a normal scenario, like, your team is gonna set you up anyway, right? That's a given. But you can look for more plays when you're ahead, right? And we all know this. We've all just gone in 1v5 when we're ahead and just killed everything. But when you're behind, you just have to change your playstyle and adapt to your team more and let them set you up more so than normal. You see how I'm only cleaning up in these fights. I'm not really ever going in on anyone who's full HP. Those are like the main takeaways, because usually when you're playing Samira, like, and you're fed, you can like take anyone on and one-shot them, but not so much in the case of when you're not fed. Now I'm back in the game. I'm 8-2 at this point. I went from 0-2 to 8-2. Haven't died since I started getting killed. Now I'm really fed, so I'm telling my team to just spam group and just kill them. We take all objectives. The easiest way to play is to just play around objectives, right? Force them to walk into me, and yeah, and that's what we actually end up doing here. So skip. So here we just play around top tower, and then the enemy's obviously gonna defend, and then that's where we're gonna take them out, and then in the game. Yeah, there wasn't much to discuss other than the mid game and my rotations, because to be honest, when you're behind, like you saw, I never was looking for anything myself. I was just following everyone else, right, and just trying to be where I could be useful. I think that's the main thing, is like trying to find where you can possibly be useful, and that's the game right there, right? The main thing is just trying to find spots where you can be useful, and taking advantage. So like when I flanked, when in that fight in the bot side, if I was in the front, that fight would be like way harder, right? Because they'd all be looking at me. But because I came from behind, playing into that more Katarina role rather than the Jinx role, it made the kills way easier, which led to me cleaning up and then eventually getting fed in the end. And then the same thing in top lane, where we just take that Katarina mindset, that cleanup mindset, even more so, and play on that, and let my teammates actually bait cooldowns even more and just go in. The main things, just to conclude this, the main things to take away from when you get behind, okay? One, don't be afraid to split push a little bit or play away from your team. Even if you're all behind, right? In the scenario where you're all behind, like we were talking about, even if like you're all behind and your team could use you, if you're all behind, you probably should only be taking numbers fights anyway. And if you're all behind, you know, there's no point in even trying to take a 5v5. So that's just out the question. In the scenario where you're all behind, including you, I would still try to split push and try to get something on the other side of the map away from the enemy team. Because I want to get free resources. If I'm behind, I want to get as many free resources as possible to get myself back in the game, right? Um, so that's one. Try to get as many free resources as possible. Two, even if you're losing in the early game, try to stay relevant in terms of CS because that's how you're gonna get your gold and you want to stay even in levels. Even though I was behind like 30 CS and 2 kills, I was still even in levels. So that's a big part. And then three, you always want to play around your skirmishes. That's your strong suit. If you see a skirmish, and you can be there, you need to be there. Those are the three main things. Hope you guys enjoyed this little breakdown, and have a nice day.